We are back, people. What is up? How's everyone doing? Game day, week 2, Dolphins, Buffalo, Miami home game, Thursday night football. Honestly, a little nervous, but really excited for the game to get going. We're going to do a little bit of a preview here. I got a lot of notes on the Bills. Went back and watched their week 1 film, looking at how they're different this year compared to previous years. Obviously, the Dolphins. I have some clips too that I'll pull up throughout the stream. But they're a little bit different. Obviously, the Dolphins have struggled with the Bills for a very long time now, and you just want to see a bounce back. But I do think this is probably their best chance of winning, just based on who's not playing, looking at their whole team, players that they're overturned and stuff. I feel probably best about it, and I have in a while. What's up, old man Jeb? How you doing? Made it to a live stream. Usually I'm watching after the fact. Yeah, nice hat. Thank you. Yeah, decided to throw on the throwback hat because Dolphins wearing the throwback jerseys tonight, which always is nice. The throwback jerseys are absolutely clean. Yup. So yeah, I'll pull up clips as we go. I have some film from their week 1 game versus the Cardinals. We can look at the coverages they were running, some things on offense, even though I think a lot of their offense is just Josh Allen. What's up? Yeah. So first thing I wanted to point out is I think the offense for the Dolphins will play much better this week. I think the Jags defense did about as good as a job you can, considering the personnel they had and their defensive scheme and how they matched us. I think the Bills defense will play us quite a bit different with their coverage calls. Obviously there will be some keys with who's playing. A-Chan will be very important if he's playing or not. What's up, everyone? Thanks. I do think A-Chan plays tonight. At least that's from what I've heard. He will be most likely playing. Hopefully he's good to go because he will be very key, as you'll see with some of the points I say. I think the Bills know how to play us, and obviously we know how to play them. It's been a long time. In Miami, those games are always dogfights, so I'm expecting another dogfight tonight. I think the biggest question mark is we don't know. We have a different defensive coordinator, so it will be a different defensive scheme versus Josh Allen. So that will be the biggest question mark that we're not used to is their offense versus our defense. If you actually go look at Josh Allen's only played the Ravens 3 times in his career, and really only 2 times. The first one was a long time ago, and he didn't have that many attempts. But he's really played the Ravens 2 times, and he didn't have the best games against the Ravens, so hopefully he can take some of the things they used in those games. But he hasn't played the Ravens since 2022. So this will be a pretty fresh matchup for Josh Allen. I don't think Jalen Wright will play that much today. Yeah, I think if A-Chan is active and plays his normal amount of snaps, I think you'll see Jalen Wright a handful of times, not a ton, but yeah. Dogfight, yeah, Grant. What do you think of the Cards versus Bills? Do you think the Bills slacked off in the game because they had to play the Finns, or were the Cards that tough a matchup? I'll get into it. I definitely have clips pulled up. I think the Cardinals, honestly, I just think the Bills aren't as good this year. I looked at their team. I looked at the players they lost. I think they've gotten weaker at most of their positions. I think they got weaker in the secondary. I think they got weaker at linebacker. I think D-line is about the same. So defensive side of the ball, I think they just got worse except the D-line. And then offensive side of the ball, I feel like they got worse at receiver, stayed the same at quarterback, running backs, offensive line. It was either they stayed the same at most positions or just got slightly worse. Now Josh Allen is Josh Allen, so as long as they have Josh Allen, they're always going to have a chance. But I think as a team, they have to play with much higher consistency. I think they lost, as we'll talk about right here. This is my next note. They have no Matt Milano and then no Taron Johnson. I think no Taron Johnson is a huge loss for them. I'm pretty sure he's played in every game against us. I think he's one of the most valuable parts of their secondary. He's their nickel corner. He's a very, very good player. I think he just brings so much value to that secondary. He helps in their run and passing game. Gives them versatility and coverage, and it just weakens their second level because we'll look at their linebackers, which is Terrell Bernard, who's not bad, but then he's a little bit undersized, so we get hands on him. And then they have Dorian Williams, and Dorian Williams is not a bad run defender, but I think there's weakness in coverage. I was looking at this Cardinals game, and there was space to work over the middle of the field. So I'm hoping the Dolphins kind of return to the middle of the field stuff and attack that second level of the defense because I think it will be open. That's why I think A-Chan's important, and I think this could be a Jonnu Smith game. I think it'd be pretty important to go after that middle of the field. I also think the safety room is weaker. Everyone knows DeMar Hamlin, but every time we've played the Bills and DeMar Hamlin's been on the field, I feel like all of our biggest plays have come either attacking DeMar Hamlin or in that kind of area of the field he's in. Maybe he's not the primary defender. but we've had a lot of success against him. They've lost Jordan Poyer, no Micah Hyde. So I think the huge plays will be more open. I think you saw how the the Bills, we'll talk about, they ran a lot of cover 2 and cover 4. That is a Jalen Waddle destroyer. I have the note here somewhere. Yeah, last year Waddle had the highest yards per route ran versus cover 2 and 4, so split field safety looks. He had the highest yards per route ran. He's always been our better player versus the Bills. I think he's had more success against them than Tyreek has. So I expect a pretty big Waddle game. And we saw like that big play to Waddle was versus cover 2. So I think that's something that could happen. But let me scroll down. Appreciate you guys. The comments. I haven't read it in a second, but yeah, I'm nervous already too. Bills haven't lost by 6+ points. Yeah, I definitely think it would be awesome. If we blew them out, that would be amazing. I do think it will be a close game because that's just typically how it goes in Miami. And I think we've had a big chance of winning every game in Miami in recent times. We won one of them, obviously, in 2022. But I do think the Bills are weaker at this point than they've been in a very, very long time. But yeah, other notes that I have. So I do think Taron Johnson's a huge loss for them. I think if A-Chance plays, that's super big. Getting him out in the slot, getting them those quick screens, I think those guys struggle out in space. I think their linebackers, Williams and Bernard, are good players in the box at stopping the run. I think they're very instinctive. They get downhill and make plays. I think if you can get out the edge on our tosses, our outside zone, if we can capture that edge, I think A-Chan can find a lot of success. He's found success against them in his 2 matchups already. I think he can find even more if he's healthy. So I think, and also getting the ball to like Jonnu Smith, maybe getting Waddle in the slot too, those types of things, I think you can really take advantage. I would love to see us running more 22 personnel, going out there and get big, but then maybe our fast 22 where we have Jonnu and Connor on the field at the same time. Be super interesting. My thoughts, if we don't win this game, it's going to be hard to win the division. Yeah, that's true. I mean, I've seen some people say this is like a must win. I mean, I don't think ever like a first like couple games of the season are must wins because things can change so fast. But I do think this is the biggest game for sure in like the first like 6 or 7 weeks for the Dolphins. This is definitely the biggest one. Hopefully we can get downhill because I do think that's possible. Yeah, so I think the Bills' safety play is more attackable. I think with the concepts, our 2 biggest plays last week, Tua was able to hold on to the ball a little bit longer. The Bills' D-line is still very good. I think it's their biggest strength, but I actually don't think it's as good as the Jags' defensive line was, and we were still able to hold up in those situations. So if we can allow Tua the time to get to that second read, open things up late deep, I think they're susceptible there. I think there's opportunities. I think there's going to be room over the middle of the field. Actually, I'll pull up a first player. This was on like the first drive. This is like a pretty basic Bills look right here. Just coming out, they show quarters pre-snap. The Cardinals in tight alignment here with the receivers. Don't have wide splits. And I think, they're going to be more sitting on this stuff. They're going to play quarters. Probably have this, like say if this was a Dolphins offense, Cardinals run a pretty different offense. But he had the quick read in the flat. He didn't take it for some reason. Then you also have this was open at the break if you throw it with anticipation. I don't think these guys, I don't think are the greatest at covering the middle of the field. I think he was definitely their best player 7, but he is now not playing. I think there's going to be a lot of room to work with there. And even then, he still gets the check down and he makes someone miss. I don't think they're the best open field tacklers there. They're good players for sure, but they'll miss some tackles. They're more like instinctive in the box type players versus the run. Here's another play where they try to capture the outside zone, and this is blocked up pretty well. Like they capture the edge. This guy right here on the Cardinals reaches right here, 70 reaches, 87. Like there's a lot of space to work with here. Like if he cuts this up, there's so much space if you get one-on-one with a safety. Connor is just a little bit late to read it and gets tackled by a guy on the ground. But there was a lot of opportunities in this game for them to hit the outside zone stuff. So I think a lot of the Dolphins' biggest strengths actually matches up against Buffalo's weaknesses. If the Finns lose versus the Bills, Ryder may get really upset. I will be upset for a little bit. Yeah, Taron's a big loss. How do you feel about Jonnu 2 receptions? I think Jonnu gets more involved in this game. I think it would be a mistake not to get Jonnu more involved in this game. I think that this game is fit perfectly. Like what we needed, like what we were missing last year, it was for this type of game versus this team with that second level of defenders. I have the Bills almost lost. Do they miss or they rested guys who play versus Finns. They didn't rest anyone. They were definitely trying to win. I think one thing is just the nature of week 1 games. Like same with the Dolphins Jaguars. Sometimes the team just starts slow. I think the Bills started slow. Cardinals also had like a kick return touchdown, so that helped them stay in the game. And Cardinals aren't that bad offensively. They started to slow down in the second half. I think they are a very different team than us, though. I don't think they're as explosive for sure. They're more of take checkdowns, have Kyler play free, backyard type football. We're more timing based. So I think that will help us out. But yeah. Yeah, I agree, Garrett. I think we'll see more of the wrinkles. He definitely showed wrinkles in week 1, but it wasn't anything like crazy. It was more just like with his old concepts, he added some slightly different things, which definitely helped out. What happened to Ezukanma? I mean, I think they just don't trust him. Maybe he gets. I don't know if they're gonna elevate anyone for tonight. I don't think I saw any elevations yet. I don't know if you guys have heard stuff. But I know Malik Washington's not playing again, which sucks. I really want to see Malik play. But yeah. I think the corners on Buffalo are actually pretty decent. Christian Benford, who's I think was an undrafted guy for them. I'm not 100% sure, but he's actually had pretty good success against us. But I do think that is kind of, they do play a lot of too high coverages, so he has help over the top, but he'll play some things. I think same thing with Rasul Douglas, their other corner, he's going to try to jump. So I think their outside corners aren't too bad of players, so that's why I'm attacking the middle of the field. But they're not also like unbeatable either. They're not like top tier elite corners. That's what they usually play with, a trail with safety help over the top, that type of thing. But yeah. Definitely need Achane to play. I expect to see more Jonnu. I wrote that down. I think Wilson and Wright can give you Mostert production. Like Raheem didn't even really play last week, but I do think like Wilson and Wright can give you what Raheem would give you. I think they have that type of skill set. Wright can give you more of the outside zone type of stuff. Wilson can give you some of the gap scheme, hit up the middle, man gap stuff that you want, and get downhill. But I do think I would love to see Wright get some action. I wouldn't be surprised if he catches some steam either. They need to stop the run at the beginning of the game with my guy right after that. Yeah, I would definitely need to get things going. And because they play a lot of too high, as I've talked about, they play too high at a much higher rate than other coverages. So that means they have one less person in the box. So I do think establishing the run is very important. But I also feel like the Dolphins have some keys now. They showed it in the Jags games. We're like, hey, we're more equipped now to beat some too high stuff with Tua being a little more patient, waiting to get to that second read on deep stuff. And Tua can also, I've looked a little more run. They said, I think I have this out. Yeah, they ran 2 high coverages at the 5th highest percentage in week run. And other than that, they had their coverages were pretty spread out. I think they ran cover 3 at like one of the lowest rates. But we'll see. Yeah, middle of the field was open for the Cardinals. I wrote that down. I was watching the film and it was definitely open. The Cardinals, Kyler is just not a middle of the field thrower. So maybe they were just leaving the middle of the field more open because they are not threatened by Kyler throwing the middle of the field. That's not really his game. But it was open. We'll see how the Bills kind of adjust to that. I think they're going to play more middle of the field, but we didn't really do that in week 1. Donald will get the first reception of the game. Why is Storm Duck playing over Bonner? I think they talked about it. They were saying like, I think it was just like basically Duck had looked better during practice during the week. I wouldn't be surprised if it actually switches back and forth, like just ever is practicing better. Personally, I have a little more faith in Bonner just because I've seen him in live action. Duck played a few snaps last week. I think if they went after Duck in coverage, he would have had some struggles because there were some times where the guy was open. They just didn't throw it his direction. Ryder, how did the Finns slow down the Bills pass rush? Basically the same thing as last week, just running the ball, screens, getting the ball out quickly, and then using that play action like they did on those 2 big plays. And like you have your aggressive sets so you get into them quickly. As long as you don't lose instantly, you should be able to, like, those guys will be slowed down. As long as they don't like predict, show anticipation that it's a pass, like they just guess, you should be able to find some decent success in that way. And they blocked pretty well last week for the most part. I think the O-line played higher than most people's expectations. Let me scroll back up. My notes. What else did I have? Yeah, I think Terrell Bernard is their middle linebacker. He's a pretty good player. Undersized. I think if you get hands on him, you can potentially bully him at the next level. He's very instinctive in the box. But I don't think he's like some elite athlete either, like to get to the sidelines. I think that's why you run those tosses to Achane are important. So need to get hands on him. I think Dorian Williams. So Dorian Williams is playing in place of Milano. Dorian Williams is a pretty decent run defender, but that guy can struggle in space. I would love to attack Dorian Williams and Cam Lewis. Cam Lewis is the backup nickel who's playing in place for Teron Johnson. I watched him in some of this game. I have some clips of him that'll pull up. I think those are the weak links in the Bills defense. So that's why I'm looking to attack those areas. So hopefully you can like use Waddle, Hill in the slot when you get the chance. Use Johnny Smith, use Achane. I think those are the guys on how you can attack this defense. I'm not, don't have too much faith in the other wide receivers behind Hill and Waddle that are active. The life that I needed. Let's go. I know I'm definitely also trying to just pass the time too. I'm just waiting for this game to go on, which we're how many hours off? Like a little less than 5 hours at this point. So hopefully that goes down. But yeah, I think their linebackers are better run defenders than coverage players. If you watch the Bills versus Dolphins last year, the Bills linebackers just shot back. Like when we would run those play action deep digs, they would gain so much depth. I wonder if they're going to do something similar to this game. Like they're still going to do that, even though we didn't really show that in week 1. So I wonder if that adjustment is something they make like, hey, we're not going to gain as much depth. Maybe the Dolphins try to still attack that deep middle of the field. But who knows? Maybe they don't trust their safeties as much because their safety play isn't as good. So I do think like there is potential for like that 9 to 12 yard range. Jonnu Smith just sitting over the middle. Linebackers gained more depth than they needed to. You find Jonnu if that first read isn't open. I would love that. Is Malik Washington healthy? No, Malik's out still. I'm imagining Malik has a decent chance of returning after the bye because they didn't put him on IR. And IR usually means you would miss 4 games. This would be his second game missed. So I think with the long week, not after the bye, sorry, just after this week, because we're going to have a long like week and a half time off, I think Malik will have a chance to return in the 3rd game, potentially the 4th game if I had to think about it. They have a pretty good O-line. It is tough to get pressure on them, especially when they're doing like their play action stuff. So I think their tackles, there was a stat, it was like, I had it written down, I think. It was the Cardinals edge rushers only generated 3.5% like pressure rate from their edges. That is like historically bad in week 1. So the Cardinals could not get any pressure off the edge versus the Bills tackles. Obviously the Dolphins have better edge rushers, like Jalen Phillips is way better than all those players. So I imagine we'll definitely have more success. But I do feel like probably more of their weakness on the O-line, even though I think their O-line's a good group, is more on the interior. Like I don't think Osiris Torrance is the best player. Wilkins kind of cooked him last year in their matchups. So maybe Sealer or Campbell can take advantage of that. Obviously, I think we can do spy work, paying attention to Josh Allen. Josh Allen is obviously a very good player. We'll see. I mean, we'll break down some clips here. Actually, let's just pull up some clips, and I'll get to the Bills. It'll probably get to the Bills off after this. Is still that same drive for the Cardinals. Bills show to hide. Now, I should put this play in here because Bills ran cover 1 robber. This is exactly what the Dolphins faced a bunch of last week. Jags ran an insane amount of cover 1 robber. This guy robs down the middle of the field. Cardinals end up completing this quick slant. But if they do this, you might be able to take some one-on-one shots down the field, potentially on like slot fades. You still try to throw this over the middle. You just got to throw it quick. We had this Barrios one knocked out on a very similar play. Ball was probably just a tick later from Tua because it wasn't his first read. Like that was Kyler's first read. So that'll be interesting. Coverage, like disguise. Sorry, it's a little bit glitchy on that play. But if you watch the coverage disguise, look how they disguise this. They're showing single high here, middle field close. This looks like it could be a potential cover 3 with how they have the setup. They drop back. He becomes a deep half defender of the corner. So they're playing cover 2 invert. And then this guy buzzes down and then he becomes like a Tampa 2. So they play cover 2 Tampa, insane disguise with it. Even though this was kind of open, like it gets glitchy right there for some reason. But like Marvin Harrison was open on the curl. Kyler has to escape the pocket. So hopefully we can read how the Bills like to disguise their coverages, that type of thing. James Cook, I think the Bills can run the ball pretty effectively on, this is gap scheme stuff, but I think they ran the ball well. Cardinals have a very bad run defense, but they ran the ball well on gap scheme and outside zone, created a bunch of space. Cardinals did a better job in the second half. Dolphins run defense showing up would be huge. Really just got to make Josh Allen make mistakes is like your chance of stopping this offense. If you stop the run and put Josh Allen in those 3rd and long situations, because here's the duality of Josh Allen. Like here's the first play I'm going to show. Josh Allen dropping back in coverage. Look at him just go through his progression. 1, to 2 to 3, finding the backside dig, gets to his third read very quick, gets it through the box of defenders right here to number 13. Absolutely, really, really good job from Josh Allen on that play. Insanely quick processing. And then here's the next play. Him just trying to play hero ball. He's looking to the side of the field, nothing's open. He kind of panics. Instead of like trying to find this guy right here, he moved in the pocket for no reason, thinking he was going to feel pressure. Still runs around, and then they get to him late. They knock the ball out, force a fumble. That's kind of like the things you're looking for. You get them in those third and long situations. That one, I believe, was first down. I think those were literally just back-to-back plays, but that's kind of how you slow them down and potentially make game-winning plays. I feel like the Dolphins have more pressure to win. Yeah, I feel like this is almost like a no-win scenario for Dolphins, because if they win, it'd just be like, well, it was week 2 in Miami. It's not, you didn't beat them, in the winter in Buffalo. And it's like, if we lose, it's like, oh, you lost again. That type of thing. Is he out for a year? Yeah, Taj is out for a year. I don't think the run will be big in this game. Shootout, neither are looking good defensively. Yeah, Taj out for a year. I think the run game will be pretty important. If you can stop the run, I think that's very key. I'm not sure if it'll be like a big running game, but I do think it'll be an important part. Especially if Achane's healthy, it will be important for the Dolphins. Outside of Coleman, the Bills have nobody. Honestly, I think the Bills, I'll talk about looking at their weapons. We got Keon Coleman, Matt Collins, obviously, Khalil Shakur. I actually think Khalil Shakur, Dalton Kincaid, who if you didn't really get involved last week because the Cardinals put a lot of attention on Kincaid. I think Kincaid, James Cook, their running back, and Shakir are like their best weapons, honestly. Coleman's young and is like, I'm not worried about him like separating. He can make some big contested catches, but he doesn't really worry me too much. Ryder, will the Finns use a spy for Josh Allen, Jordan Brooks? I think there will be certain downs, like maybe obvious passing situations or like situations where I think Josh Allen's going to run, they might spy. I'm not sure who it will be. I think it could be Jordan Brooks. He could probably do a decent job. I wouldn't be surprised if they use like stunts up front, like basically you have like Chop Robinson on the outside and he's, kind of delay stunts to the inside. I wouldn't be surprised if that's kind of how they try to contain Allen. Instead of using like a spy, they have Chop kind of like delaying to the inside and then he can see where Josh Allen escapes to and, get there on a quicker angle. But we've had Elijah Campbell, Javon Holland spy Josh Allen at certain points in the past. Yeah, I think Wright will get some playing time. I'm not sure how much. I think it depends. I think it depends how I think he'll get a few carries. And if his first few carries go well, like last week when Wilson got his first carry, he had a great run. And I think that sort of continued that momentum with him. I think similarly to Wright, if he comes in early and like looks pretty solid, I think he could get more carries than maybe expected. Yep. Yeah, let's go Miami. Very excited. But let's see what else I got. Yeah. James Cook is a good runner, just needs quality. We need quality run fits to stop him. I think a lot of times when Cook's a very like fluid runner, he gets out in space, makes people miss, that type of thing. But I do think it's more of like they're blocking. You just gotta, not get washed out of the play. So good overall O-line. I think O-line is one of their bigger strengths. Yeah, Cardinals went all out. I'll have some reps to show in these clips of there's certain reps where the Cardinals were like just all out stopping Kincaid over the middle of the field. So Kincaid like barely got involved, so he's someone to keep an eye on because Kincaid low-key is their best receiver, and he's their tight end. Yeah, Brooks and Long definitely need to work off better. They did a better job in the second half other than that one play. Cassell talked about robbery use by Jacksonville today on Coward when he asked why the offense didn't play well in the first half. They used a lot of cover one robber, and it just worked out perfectly against the concepts we were running. We can definitely take advantage of cover one robber, like if we're running the right plays. But it was a good job by Jacksonville. Got to give them a ton of credit. Yeah, their safeties were jumping the inside routes, and we did. Yeah, we also took advantage of cover one robber because the Tyreek Hill touchdown was versus one robber. The Jalen Waddle big catch was versus cover two, which we'll see more of tonight. So it is nice to see them adjusting. But yeah, outside on that offense, Josh Allen will be he's their try to do it all player. He has been in the past. I think under their new offensive coordinator, he tries not to do it as much, play superhero ball. But he's obviously given us a ton of huge problems. We need a good defensive game plan. That's why I'm excited to see how we use stunts, delayed blitzes, spying to contain him, what Anthony Weaver's game plan is, because we don't know yet, because this is Weaver's first time versus him. Can use him with coverage rotations. We're going to have more coverage rotations than usual, which I think I don't think Allen just gets completely fooled, but there's times where we've seen him fooled by coverage rotations, which could be interesting. And sometimes he just holds onto the ball. That's how you kind of get sacks on him, is usually not because their O-line just gets cooked. It's more like Allen's trying to make a big play. So hopefully we need Phillips to get after it. You expect us to put a lot in the box? No, I expect it to be pretty normal. I think, maybe on like early downs we could see an extra guy in the box, but yeah. With the running backs hurt, Dolphins could run more 22 versus Buffalo with like Ingold as the two running backs, as fullback, two tight ends as well, potentially fast 22 with Jonnu and Tanner. Because I do think the Dolphins are going to look at the linebackers and safeties and think we can take advantage of that. So I wouldn't be surprised if they go bigger, especially Bills play a ton of nickel with Teron Johnson out, which is a huge loss, and Cam Lewis in there. I wouldn't be surprised if they go big sometimes and try to run it at them and run at that nickel, because he's not the greatest player. Honestly, I think it was Tua, Hill, and Waddle that worked out not hitting that first read even though it was open. Ramsey better play this game too. I'm pretty sure I haven't heard Ramsey's not playing, so I think he should be playing. Sorry if you covered this already, but how do you see the backfield split tonight? It's obviously hard to predict, but I do expect Achane to probably see around his normal amount of touches, maybe a couple less, but like playing time, I wouldn't be surprised if he's like, because Achane's usually around like 40 to 50% touches anyways, like playing time. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's like in the 40s. And then I think it depends who gets hot, but I think Wilson will get first crack at it. Similarly to last week, I think he'll get his work. Probably like 35-ish, maybe 40 as well. Less than Achane though. I think Achane would be like 45. And then Wright would get the rest. I think unless Wright just comes in and like looks good right away, first carries, looks comfortable, is hot, then I could see Wright taking Wilson's touches. Because I don't think the Wright and Wilson touches are set in stone right now. I do think it will be Wilson first though. Yeah, and then Mike McDaniel. I think Mike McDaniel might pull out some more tricks. We'll see. I think he obviously added some wrinkles with certain things. Like, I don't know. There's this guy who wrote, very smart coach on Twitter, but he talked about the Dolphins like variation with their crack toss. They had like different variations of crack toss last game. They had different versions of play action with the crack toss. They started using crack toss out of play action, and that was like one of the big touchdowns came off of that. Or one of the big plays came off of that. I can't remember if it was the Waddle or Tyreek play, but one of those was the play action crack toss, which we didn't really do much of last year. But yeah, I'm running and throwing at Cam Lewis, to be honest. Like when Johnson came out of the game, I was not super impressed with what Lewis brought to the table. I think Johnson's a huge loss for them. Throwing at Dorian Williams, that type of thing. So that will be interesting to see how that kind of plays out. I think when we just showed, they're definitely like susceptible to some eye movement. Let me see if I can find where I wanted to. Here's this play right here. Cardinals, this is probably like the most similar play that you'll see the Dolphins have actually in their playbook. Cardinals running a very different offense than us, but the motion out, this guy runs on the rail, this guy sits down over the middle, play action, deep drop. This is Marvin Harrison Jr., and he's just wide open over the middle. Like Dorian Williams, put him in conflict right here. This is Cam Lewis, by the way, 39. But put him in conflict. He's not the greatest space player. I feel like you can tack these areas of the field to safety, gain some depth. Marvin Harrison Jr. just drops that. He definitely looked rough in his first game, but it is what it is. But these areas of the field definitely looked open throughout this game. Look at the play action, how it affected 43. He has to peek behind him, doesn't look super comfortable. Cam Lewis just looks like a little more uncomfortable than Johnson does there. Obviously nothing too crazy, but like that was wide open. They didn't take advantage of that straight up, but like here's Cam Lewis. He just feels like he's just chasing things. Like I don't even know what he's doing here. Like this is Cam Lewis, their nickel. He's kind of just like Kyler's looking here. Kyler gets a little bit of pump. He just runs out of the way. Like this guy comes into his zone. He's an underneath hook defender. Cam Lewis just lets him float past him, plays all nonchalant, and then Kyler finds him late, and the safety has to come down and make the tackle. And then the very next play, Cam Lewis here, versus the run, they get a lineman up onto him, they run straight at him, James Conner into the end zone. So those would be the players I'm going after. I'm sure McDaniel saw this film and is like, hey, we can do a lot of this stuff. Yeah, I'm hoping, personally, I'd rather see more Wright than Wilson. I think Wilson has a very specific role. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting. Or covered by Lewis and Ball, yeah. You think Porter gets picked tonight? Definitely possible. I think he's going to be very motivated. You never know, though. I didn't like all the behind the line of scrimmage stuff. I think we did too much, Lee, but I do think it did help open up some of that deeper stuff and give like Tua a little more time in the pocket because he had to respect that. You think our 13 personnel group might come into play? I think they'll just go to 22 instead of 13 because I think they trust Ingold more, you know, as a blocker than bringing in all three tight ends. I'll say it right now. After week 1, I think Julian Hill is the best tight end on the team. He had the best week 1. I think he's just the most well-rounded. I think Smythe is like, usually you're Mr. Reliable, but he looked awful in week 1. He couldn't catch anything. Hill's your best blocker. He caught the one ball thrown his way. Jonnu had a drop on his first catch. He caught the second one. He's obviously your best receiving tight end, but Hill just looked like the guy that you can just trust, and he was playing bully ball out there. Hill bullies people, so I think for our system, I think Julian Hill might just be tight end 1. That maybe Christopher, maybe because honestly, those videos were hard to watch. Yeah, he did get the most snaps. He had a lot of this. I do think that was also the nature. I think just they kind of were like, hey, Smythe, you're messing up. We're pulling you out of the game. And that could have played into why he got more snaps, but Porter should have his pick week 1. Yeah, Porter should have a pick on like play 3, I think it was. On tosses, we run a lot of crack toss. Obviously, it's one of our go-tos. Dolphins had a lot of success on toss plays last year to Achane versus the Bills specifically. Just overall, they had success on toss to Achane overall. But versus the Bills, like there's that one play where he shook Porter out of his shoes. Even in that week 1 game, we ran it like once to him. He went like 50 yards. He had very good stats against Buffalo, so hopefully Achane's good. I don't think the Bills can play it as well with this team too. Against like the Jags played it very good because 1, they have a very good D-line, which the Bills do too. But the Jags linebackers are very like sideline to sideline rangy types. Like they have good sideline to sideline range, so they can get out there. The Bills linebackers are not as sideline to sideline rangy types. Like they have some good instincts, but they're in between the tackle players, in my opinion. They obviously can make some plays outside the numbers, but it's nothing like super. I don't think that's their strength. So that's why I think they're going to be trying to get out there with the screens, the fake, dive, toss, crack tosses, just straight up outside zone, screen plays, getting Achane. And then who knows, maybe those guys will hard commit to that on certain plays, and then maybe you can hit some of that, like what they did last game, where they were doing a lot of tosses, and then late game, boom, Jeff Wilson down their throats. So yeah. I appreciate that, Frankie. What else did I write? Yeah, I don't think the Bills are as strong on either side of the ball, just looking at their position, like their players. Like defensively, for sure. Like they have a pretty good D-line. Like Greg Russo had a big game last week. I think Daquan Jones has always been a good player. Ed Oliver obviously is a pretty twitched up D lineman. H.A. Epinesa is not a bad edge defender. They have Von Miller, who's not the player he used to be, by the way, but he's listed as on their second team, but he can still get after it at least. But after that, like I'm not super impressed with Dorian Williams or Terrell Barnard. I think is a decent player, but would struggle against us in a lot of situations. He'll make some plays, but nothing that like their linebacker room has definitely been better in the past. Corners is weaker basically because like Christian Benford we played against last year and Rasul Douglas. Corner will be weaker just because they don't have Johnson in the nickel. And then safety play, like Taylor Rapp's not bad, but DeMar Hamlin, not the greatest player in the world. Locked in. Yeah. Oh, Josh Allen had so many clean pockets in this Cardinals game. When they got sacks on him, it was mostly just like late sacks or late pressures because he was just trying to hold on to the ball and make a play. Cardinals could not get anything going. But their front is much worse than ours, to be clear. But the Bills' O-line did a really good job in week 1, so got to give them credit. And obviously, Allen, he had 2 rushing touchdowns. He's trying to make plays with his legs. That will always be a part of his game. Yeah, the Cardinals generated 3.5% pressure rate from their edges in week 1, which is so bad. Talked about this earlier, but ran too high at 5th highest percentage in week 1. Other coverage is very spread out. Ran cover 3 way below average. I think the Josh Allen versus our new defensive coordinator will be a very fun battle. And then it will be a Waddle game. I think Waddle, and if Achane is healthy, Achane's tough because we obviously don't know how much he's going to play. But I think if Waddle, because he is more of the Buffalo guy in Achane, should see some stuff here. Show this play. I think as it went on, I think the Cardinals started to tighten up a little more on like those early looks. Josh is trying to get the ball out quickly here. They take that away. They drive on this. They're in cover 3. They're cover 3 buzz. Allen comes out of it, spins out of it. They leave Shakir. Gotta, work with Allen when he starts going off script. I think Shakir is their best receiver, most reliable one that Allen just has a feel for. And you gotta wrap him up. Shakir has good, he's not the biggest guy, but he has good contact balance. He just bounced off that tackle like it was nothing. And he's also pretty good off script. So keep an eye on him. They'll get quick passing game. Also, like the start of this play, I think they'll try to get the ball out quickly to Kincaid, get the ball out quickly to Shakir. Those are the type of players. He'll hit some dump offs. It's not James Cook here. And then their outside receivers are Matt Collins and Coleman. So Coleman's open here. They don't cover him, but Allen was not reading to that side of the field at the initial part of that play. So definitely places to attack. And then look at the play action, man. Oh yeah, this is the play I wanted to show. Look at this. Play action. This is something we've struggled with. When they run play action, we have struggled to get any pressure on him. They don't get any pressure. But look at this. Look at their defenders. What are they doing? Looks like they're running like, variation of like 3 match, but they all just sit in the middle of the field. All 4 of these guys are on Kincaid, and the flat defender does not get down and play as a flat guy versus the running back, and they just find a free touch. I'm not sure what the Cardinals are doing here, but this was kind of crazy how they were playing Kincaid 86. Holy mo, that's crazy. We have a practice squad running back if Achane isn't active. So do we know anything about Prince? Generic Prince, he's from the Chiefs. He was I think Tulsa, UDFA. I think he's like 4.4 runner. He had some fun college film. Like he's not like he runs pretty hard. Like he's got pretty good size for his speed. I think it was like just being more of a consistent guy with like vision and stuff. But he can be like a home run guy. I think they just I don't know if he'll get elevated or not. In the box, yeah. I would love to see more versatile usage out of Ramsey this week, Christopher. I think that would be really nice. I think they didn't really get too much of him last game because of the injury. So I do hope we get to see that because I think that would be a very good way of getting after Allen. Because I think Ramsey is one of the few DBs, like if you blitz him, he could actually bring Josh Allen down and actually tackle him. I think some of the other guys might struggle because Josh Allen's just so big and athletic. I think Ramsey's one of the few that could actually get it. I mean, I'd love this. I'd love it, but I don't know if it'll happen. I'd be great. Would be awesome. Oops, let me get rid of that. Boom, okay. Rousseau, Bernard, and Oliver are good, but not any different than what they dealt with last week. I think Jags were actually more difficult skill-wise. Yeah, I think the Jags had the better front. Like, I think the Jags and Bills have similar strengths and weaknesses. Like, I thought the Bills' defensive strength, I think, is their front, and I think the Jags' defensive strength is their front. Secondary-wise, they probably have some even stuff. I think missing Teron Johnson is what hurts the Bills' secondary to talk about. I think he was such a big part of them. I can see it one again. It would be great, though, to definitely attack them, give them different looks than they're normal to. So the defensive side of the ball, it's harder to predict what we're going to do defensively because we just haven't seen that matchup yet. We've only played 1 week, and I think, going against Josh Allen's just kind of a different type of beast than what we were going against week 1. But hopefully the Dolphins can build on their defensive momentum because obviously the defense played much better in the second half. Offense also played better, but I think the defense played much better. So hopefully they can build on that momentum. I'm expecting Waddle to have a big impact. Tyreek will always be impactful, but I just don't know. Tyreek just hasn't had that same success versus Buffalo. I think he could be involved as like for getting receptions, but maybe not as many big plays. But you never know. There could be coverage breaks. I think you're more likely going to find coverage breaks against this safety duo than you would against past Bills safety duos. Cody needs to be kept at nickel. Yeah, I think he didn't play a ton on the outside, but I do think I don't want to see him playing on the outside in this game either. This is not his strength, and I think a reason for that is because of Ramsey. He was on limited snaps, and they did that when they were coming out in like base looks, having Kohu roll on their outside, or when they ran like three safety sets a couple times too. But we'll see how it turns out. I'm interested to see what the inactive list looks like tonight because I think it will be different. I don't know how much different, but I do think potentially some of those people, they might want more. Maybe they want Kamara active if they want more guys that can be fresh to get after Allen or something. Obviously, I think Jalen Wright will be active with the Mostert injury, that type of thing. And I wonder if Bonner will be active too. Personally, I think I just have more. I like all of our backup corners. I like them, and I like them all as developmental guys. I think I just have more faith in Ethan Bonner right now than Storm Duck. Obviously, the Dolphins felt differently. When I watched Duck, I just watched Duck snaps, and he only played like a handful of snaps. He had one good play versus the run, but in coverage, he didn't look super comfortable in his week 1 debut. They didn't go after him though. So we'll see. But it was just his first game. He only played a few snaps, so it's hard to judge it too much. Be nice if we can get one of those games. Yeah, it would be nice. I mean, kind of last time we played Bills, even though we lost to them, we did kind of get one of those games where Allen was shaky. He missed some throws, threw some picks. Dolphins just got unfortunate. They basically lost to a punt return. That flipped the momentum of the game. Which wide receiver gets called up? I hope it's Ezukanma, personally. I think Ezukanma at least gives you better blocking than what Chosen gives you. And he can at least, like, if you want to give someone design touches, I think Ezukanma can take more of an advantage of the design touches, like, on screens and stuff. So, personally, I would go with Eric. But I don't know what they're going to do. I think Ogba has a big game, potentially. I thought Ogba played fine last week. He had that sack, but it was more of a schemed up sack. I think Phillips was the real dominator on that D-line, like across the board. I think Sealer played solid. Campbell made some big impact plays, but Phillips was like that difference maker. I want to see more of Chop. I feel like from what I saw, I think if Chop gets like actual one-on-one rush opportunities, maybe not this game because Bills have some pretty good tackles. I do think Chop can bring more value to this team than what they used him in week 1 as a pass rusher, at least. I like those predictions, guys. Man, I'm hoping for a win. It's going to be stressful. It always is. But it'd be really nice because this game's so important. I think the players are very motivated. I think random question, but does Phillips have a long injury history? He does, actually. He almost retired because of concussions in college. He did medically retire, actually, in college. That's when he was at UCLA first. Where'd you get it? I think it's Culture Kings. Yeah, I do think, yeah. I don't think, I think, yeah, Osiris Torrance is that who you're talking about? I don't think Wilkins was cooking that guy last year. I do think he get it. Yeah, but I think the hat is from Culture Kings. I think that's where I got it. They have some nice throwback hats on there. They have a few different kind. We went by 2. I don't want to see Tyndall. I think Tyndall will probably be inactive just because of number-wise. I guess if they wanted more speed, maybe to spy, but Tyndall spied in the past, and he kind of struggled when he had to do that against Justin Fields in like 2 seasons ago. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to the game. I was talking about something, but I can't remember. I can't even remember what it was. But definitely some exciting stuff going on. Will you be live during game? No, I'm just gonna chill and watch the game. But tomorrow I'll have film breakdowns on it. I'll have a film breakdown, and then I'll probably go live tomorrow to like just talk about like we'll break down the film on my video, like whether it's I do offense or defense, and then we'll go live like afterwards just to talk like overall arch in the game, like whatever happens, that kind of thing. It should be a fun one. Will all 4 tight ends be active again? I felt like that was a waste. I actually think they will, because I think they prefer to have another tight end active since we have less wide receivers. Because I don't know if you saw, but there was a package where we had a fast 22 package where we had Jonnu Smith and Tanner Connor on the field. So we come out in like a bigger package. Like we have 2 tight ends, 2 running backs, and we get linebackers on the field. And we only ran it a few times, but there was some nice looks. We had some good plays on those reps. I wouldn't be surprised if they tried that against the Bills. So I don't know. I would be interested. And Tanner Connor also plays special teams. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's 4 tight ends again for those specific reasons. The time is going slow. I know it always around this time it starts to slow down. Yeah, those were. I guess we can just let some of these plays run through. Bills will like to run quarters. There's things you can take advantage of. I think some of these guys can struggle in space in that second intermediate area, dump offs. Their space through, like this outside zone play could have gone so much farther, but I do think they struggle to get to the edge. They can definitely get captured. Here's them running one robber, which kind of hurt us last week. That's what the Jags did a ton of. Different coverage rotations. Tampa 2, really kind of crazy. Kind of fooled Kyler on 3rd and long there, and he didn't find the open receiver. They ran the ball fairly well in week 1. Buffalo did. Oh, yeah. The duality of Josh Allen. This is actually crazy. Josh Allen goes from, this is such a good quarterback play, by the way. From going, he goes to one to the flat. Doesn't really like the Shakir look. Sees this guy's playing over the top. He knows he can take it, but doesn't want to force it. Then here, he sees this linebacker float. But he knows by when he looks to the left here, these guys are going to float into this space. And when he gets to this backside dig, number 3, that's going to be open, and he takes it. That's just smart QB play. And then he goes from that to this, where he kind of panics in the pocket for no reason. Instead of he has nothing open here, but instead of he has a clean pocket. Instead of just resetting and finding this guy, he resets way too late. Now this guy's able to get there. He still doesn't see it, and then the guys get a strip sack. It's kind of crazy. Last year I worked and slept. The whole day and missed the game. When I seen the score, I was glad I slept. I think Tua played bad. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, it's on Prime, right? Amazon Prime, so I guess you can watch that on a lot of different devices. You think Mike Daniel will use Ingold as often as Coach did in the last game? I don't know. I think Ingold will be involved and get a lot of blocking. Carry-wise, I don't know. Maybe he'll get some short carries, but I wouldn't be surprised if they try to fake fullback dive and work those into tosses instead, trying to get some stuff. Let me close that. Yeah, it should be an exciting game to watch. Yeah, that's everything that I had notes on, so we'll see how this plays out. See you guys tomorrow, hopefully with a win. But yeah. Everyone have fun watching the game.